Do you care about what they say? Do you value their lens? We all have a lens, right, on life. Do you value their telescope lens, right? Our mind and all of our thoughts, even as right as we may think they are all just simply a telescope lens looking at everything, right? Do they even know that they're wearing a telescope lens? If they don't, fuck, man, that's a hard friend to be a part of. You want to always have a friend who can look at the telescope lens and be like, well, that's just my lens, but, that's my lens. Okay, back to life, instead of just demanding that it's the truth. Similarly, with everything I just said in this past 20 minutes, it's just my lens. It could all be total bullshit, and a year from now I can look at this and say, wow, I had a really fucked up lens. There's a saying that says, I should really think about what I'm going to say before I just fucking turn the camera on. 5 closest people. There's a saying that says, okay, let's get to business here. You are the summation of the 5 people closest to you. If you look around in your life and you think about the 5 people who you interact with the most on a friendship basis, you are a combination of all of that. There's a part of you that, the essence of you is kind of in the middle of all of that, taking pieces and parts of all of those people. So it's not the ultimate truth of who you are, but it's a good indicator of where you're at in your life, right? If you look around you and all your friends are deadbeat broke people, maybe you should reconsider something. If you look around you and all of your friends inspire you and make you feel passionate about life and make you want to be a better man or a woman, it's a pretty good sign of where you're at in your life. And anyway, I've always found this to be a really good indicator of how I'm doing, where I'm at, and just my authenticity around my own life. And I've had a lot of situations recently where I really had to dig deep and ask myself, what does it take for someone to be a friend of mine? There's this type of insurance salesman attitude or maybe celebrity attitude, or I don't know the perfect name for this attitude, but it's a type of attitude that I used to adopt back when I was in real estate, that you be friends with everyone. There's no such thing as there's no such thing as a limited amount of space, right? I'll be friends with the guy at the grocery store. I'll be friends with the guy at the laundry mat. I'll be friends with all of these people. Give me your number. Let's exchange information, texting and calling. And I have space for everyone and everyone. I'm a social butterfly, a social creature, and I can just, always make room. Or there wasn't even a concept of needing room for this sort of thing. It was just the more connections you have, the better off you are. That was my attitude, right? And, the better off you are in all ways, socially and in terms of business and sales and selling things and making things happen, connecting. So it's this sort of attitude of not actually having a requirement for a friend. Of course, as we go back in time, middle school, high school, if we think about it, the level of accomplishment of an individual or the level of integrity or the level of authenticity wasn't really, these things didn't matter. We were friends with someone because they liked to play Mario Kart with us. We were friends with someone because they played tennis with us. It was like one thing was enough to create a bond, right? And then as you get older and older, you start moving into college, and then it starts getting a little more, strict as far as who is a friend and who's not a friend, and who you hang out with, and maybe using some of their accomplishments or attributes or character traits to decide if you want to be friends with them, right? That's when we start maybe separating from our degenerate friends. And then as you get older and older and older, I think it should move in the direction of having intentions and clarity around what it is that makes somebody a friend, right? Because there's a few different things at play here. Number one is I think it's called Dunbar's law. I could be very wrong about that. But there's some sort of law that explains that there's only 200 people, 200, 250, 150, I think different texts have different numbers for the amount of people that we can actually have in our life, right? Going back to like the tribal brain, tribe can only have 200 people in the tribe, otherwise it just starts fizzling and losing its integrity. We can't hold space for that many people. So there's definitely acquaintances and people that you're friendly with and people that you know. But when it comes down to like the core people of who you really let in your life, and I'm saying I'm speaking you, but really I'm just speaking about my own experience, okay? I'm not trying to like teach. This is more a video of me explaining the lessons I've learned over the years. I haven't come to some sort of grandiose conclusions that are going to blow your mind away. It's more so just an open flow dialogue video. So we end up, getting more strict with who we choose as our friends as we get older, and using different metrics and qualities and character traits in order to decide if someone is our friend. So I've had a lot of situations recently where I've really had to ask myself, what is it that is required for someone to be my friend? What do I need from them? And I've gone through different phases. It's like I went through a phase of like only wanting to be friends with someone who's transforming and changing the world. And I have some amazing friends who are doing just that, I believe. And then there's, other people who are a little more under the radar and they're not changing the world, but they have an incredible, powerful presence about them. And I have to sit and ask myself, could I not be friends with this person because they're not changing the world, right? So for me, I have this inner drive, this inner desire, and I'm constantly cutting the fat in my life. I look around and at my life, my people, my places, my things, and I'm cutting the fat on a regular basis. It's like I don't want to call it detoxing because it's people's hearts, it's people's emotions. It's not, we're not cutting away, we're not stripping our body of heavy metals. We're stripping of a very, potentially powerful or potent or a relationship that has been created, right? So anyway, I'm constantly stripping the fat and trying to allow space for me to grow and move and change. If there's some relationships in my life that make me feel like I'm in a character or I'm in a box, or that the person thinks that they totally get me, and that it's like, oh, that Mason dude, I get him, right? Whenever I feel that energy coming my way, it's like I want to run, because I'm constantly changing and shifting, and I need my friends in my life to be able to hold space for those changes and for those shifts, right? So what I do to allow myself to constantly transform and change and grow and have space is I cut the fat, right? If it's not a fuck yes, it's a no. In my friendships, in my relationships, in my business, adventures. So, I only have a limited amount of space. It's like, what I've learned is that when we find our center, and especially if we're sensitive, we don't have an unlimited amount of space, right? Every interaction is some sort of giving. It's some sort of life force exchange. And I used to just be in my mind, and I can have 40 phone calls in a day and just go one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And on the 40th phone call, I could be just as sharp as the first one because it's just my mind. It's all up here. And it's this and that. Yep, I got you. Yeah, you got the numbers for this one? Okay, you got the numbers. You're going to sell the cell antenna for that one? Okay. You know, it's just like there's not actually a life force and a flow and a spirit behind the conversation, right? So now my interactions are, you know, everything calls in an energy. When you talk to someone on the phone, you're calling in that energy, right? So I can't have 20, 30 different people texting me every day. I could, but I can't give myself to all of those texts. I can't have 10, 20 different phone calls every day and give myself fully to all of these different phone calls. I can't hang out with 10 people in a day and give myself fully to all of these things, right? The deeper of a being you are and the more sensitive you are, the more powerful and important it is to actually have intention behind each interaction, right? For it to be meaningful and the less amount of space you have for nonsense, and the less amount of space you have for talking to a large amount of people, right? It's like when you're deep and sensitive, you don't want to spread yourself and have short, shallow conversations with 30 different people. You want to have 2 conversations with people who are right there with you, present with you. So the point here is that, you know, we start to have to, we should, I believe, this is where I'm at now, we start to have to really trim the fat and choose our relationships wisely and internally connect with what it is that is required for someone to be a friend. Do they have to make a lot of money? Do they have to be super authentic? Do they have to be doing something on their mission, right? For me, one of the qualities that I really, really respect and like, I'll say almost need, because I have a few friends that I love dearly and I love, and they're not fully on their missions. And who am I to judge that, right? Maybe they'll tell me they are. But actually, I have a few that even would straight up be like, no, I'm not on my mission. And I love them dearly, but that is one quality that I really admire in a man. It's just that feeling you get when you're around a man who's on his mission. It's a feeling that you get that it can't be replicated or replaced, and you can't fake it. You can't fake it. Doesn't matter what that mission is. It could be making the best fucking didgeridoos in the world, which, by the way, I did just come across someone who made an amazing didgeridoo, and he was totally on his mission with his instrument, and it was just so beautiful to see. Or it can be, you know, I always use Tony Robbins as the other extreme of someone who's just on an unbelievable mission. Not that he's a friend. One day, though, I have full confidence in that. Tony, send me an email, josh@thedetoxdudes.com. So, what is it that, you know, is required of a friend? Sit with yourself and ask yourself that. It doesn't have to be, you know, you don't have to write down and say finances has to make over 100K. It's not like a digital sort of requirement. But, you know, what is the general flavor of that individual? What is the feeling inside that you have with them? Is it a relationship where you're constantly giving? See, this is something that I can't do. I can no longer engage in close relationships where I'm constantly giving. Or if my giving isn't received, right? Or if that individual wants to change me. Or if I feel that I'm not matched, right? And this is a very, you know, segues into this piece of the conversation where, like, look, I'm a YouTube sensation, right? I got 20,000 subscribers and I have a lot of people who want to be my friend, you know, and a lot of my clients want to be my friend, you when we're done working, or even while we're working together. Or people that I've known 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when I first started this business, they want to be my friend, right? And I think a lot of these people are freaking amazing, right? They're beautiful, beautiful people. But a lot of these relationships, when I tune into them, it's like I feel like I have to constantly be giving, and I don't feel matched. And when I say matched, I mean in a level of having one's shit together, in a level of depth, in a level of like doing one's mission, I'm not saying I'm this fucking guru and I need, bow to me or any of this. I'm not saying I'm the man. But what I'm saying is that I'm truly living a life. You can meet me in person and I'm not very different than what you see on this YouTube channel, okay? You may find other YouTubers who have a character, okay? There's really nothing of that sort. I turn this camera on and I'm just me. I don't pre-rehearse any of this stuff. So my point is, like, I practice all this stuff that I'm preaching. In fact, I'm preaching it only because I'm practicing it. How about that? So, these types of individuals who come in my life who I don't feel matched by, it's like an energetic matching. It's like, am I going to have to be the teacher? Am I going to have to be, am I going to have to like prop you up all the time? Am I going to have to constantly be helping you? Or can you fuel me, right? Can your energy fuel me? And that's what I need for a relationship to thrive, is I need them to be fuel and me to be fuel for them, and it's synergistically spiral upwards into something bigger, as opposed to a sort of student-teacher relationship, or the worse than a student-teacher relationship is the bullshit that happens internally of, I shouldn't always have to be the teacher. I should just sit here and allow this individual to teach me, right? There's this concept in spirituality of everyone is a teacher, right? If you allow them to be. Yes, that's true. But you don't have to spend your time day and day, hour by hour, spending your time with people who aren't fueling you simply to learn the lessons that they have to offer you in their passivity or in their way of being that doesn't resonate with you or doesn't feed you, right? That's not a recipe for like epic success, I must say, right? Yes, they're a teacher. Yes, you're not their guru. But if they're not fueling you and feeding you and matching you, it's like an energetic, like, are they there with you? Are they there? Are they able to put feedback into the conversation? Are they able to give you wisdom? Do you care about what they say? Do you value their lens? We all have a lens, right, on life. Do you value their telescope lens? Right? Our mind and all of our thoughts, even as right as we may think they are all just simply a telescope lens looking at everything, right? Do they even know that they're wearing a telescope lens? If they don't, fuck, man, that's a hard friend to be a part of. You want to always have a friend who can look at the telescope lens and be like, well, that's just my lens, but, that's my lens. Okay, back to life, Instead of just demanding that it's the truth. Similarly, with everything I just said in this past 20 minutes, it's just my lens. It could all be total bullshit, and a year from now I can look at this and say, wow, I had a really fucked up lens, right? So, anyhow, ask yourself what it takes for someone to be your friend, and choose wisely. And don't just bleed your energy to everyone and anyone that just comes your way. Right? You want to have integrity with this subject. Choose. Because you are the summation of the 5 closest to you. And, friendship is a very, very valuable thing. A good friend will just always prop you up. A great friend will cut through right to your bullshit and show you where you're weak and show you where you need to improve. And those are the types of friends I want in my life. So, of course, this is an evolutionary subject for me. It changes every month. Shit, it changes every week. And it's a huge challenge for me because I've hurt people. I have hurt people. because of not knowing what I want. Or I've hurt people because I don't know sometimes how to gracefully end a relationship or take a break from a relationship. So that's all I got for you today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, because I truly do read every single comment. I hardly answer comments. Maybe I answer 5-10% of them. I really like some of them. They give me joy to answer them, or it's an important question I didn't address. But for a lot of comments, I've answered them in other videos, and I just have to spend my time filming and researching and experimenting as opposed to just being there on YouTube for hours a day answering comments. And I need to save that energy for people who are paying me. Another subject I've talked about. So I've also, I have a masterclass. Check out my masterclass in the info description. It's freaking epic. And I also am about to launch a new course on sleep. So you can make sure to subscribe to me or check the info description. Perhaps the course on sleep will be ready by now, by the time I launch this video. All right, enough sales pitching. That's all I got. Peace.